Girl opens the gate for a stray pit bull, and what he does with this girl, alone at home at night, is shocking and becomes a police case. Imagine a peaceful village where everyone knows each other. Living here is Emily, a 12-year-old girl with a big heart. On a sunny day, as she played near her home's gate, Emily heard a noise outside. Curious as always, she went to see what it was and found a surprising sight. A large pit bull was standing there, looking at her with gentle eyes. Despite his imposing appearance and the bad reputation that these dogs sometimes have, Emily wasn't afraid. She could sense that, behind that serious look, there was a silent plea for help and friendship. The dog was dirty and looked as if he had walked a long way, maybe lost or abandoned. Moved by a feeling of kindness, Emily slowly opened the gate. The pit bull, hesitant at first, took a step forward. Emily cautiously extended her hand, and in a gesture of trust, the dog allowed her to pet him. It was a magical moment, the beginning of a new friendship blossoming in the hearts of both the girl and the lonely dog. This was the start of a special bond between Emily and the pit bull, one that would change her life in ways she could never have imagined. She felt a warmth in her heart, a sense that she was doing the right thing by giving the dog a chance to be understood and loved. When Emily's mother saw the pit bull in their garden, she was very worried. She knew that some pit bulls can be dangerous, especially strays, since you don't know what they've been through or how they were treated. Nervous, she feared that this large dog could be a threat to her daughter. "Mom, he's nice. He hasn't done anything wrong." Emily tried to explain, but her mother was determined to protect her. In a serious tone, she said, "Emily, I know you want to help, but it's dangerous. This dog could be unpredictable. I don't want you getting close to him." With care, Emily's mother asked her to come inside the house and, with a sad sigh, she closed the door, leaving the dog outside. Emily looked through the window, her eyes filled with sadness, as the pit bull, whom she had named Warrior, watched her calmly, as if understanding that his presence was causing concern. Emily's mother only wanted to keep her daughter safe. So, despite the affection Emily already felt for Warrior, her mother needed to make this difficult decision. Emily felt very alone in that big world. Since her father had left the family, her mother had become the sole provider, working tirelessly from morning until night to support them both. This left Emily with many hours to herself, hours she spent daydreaming and longing for a companionship that seemed hard to find. In the village, the children played together, but Emily often felt out of place among them. She was quieter and more introspective, preferring books and her own imagined stories to loud games or superficial chatter. This intensified her sense of isolation, making her feel not only separate from other kids but as though she lived in a completely different world. Outside Emily's house, on the other side of the firmly closed door, was Warrior, the pit bull who had unexpectedly shown up at their gate. Warrior, with his weathered coat and eyes that told stories of lonely days and uncertain nights, also knew solitude well. He had been abandoned, perhaps by someone who could no longer or didn't want to care for him, leaving him to roam the streets in search of something he might not even know. Looking through the window, Emily watched Warrior lying on the grass, his head between his paws, observing the occasional movement on the street. Even from afar, she felt a connection with him, a mutual recognition of lonely souls seeking understanding and acceptance. It wasn't just compassion Emily felt, but a deep empathy, forged in the quiet shared solitude of their parallel existences. Emily thought about Warrior during class, while helping her mom at home, or even as she drifted off to sleep. She imagined what it would be like to run through open fields with him, without worrying about time or rules. In her mind, Warrior wasn't just a scary pit bull, as many might think, but a protector, a loyal friend who could understand the weight of silence just as she did. One afternoon, while her mother was at work, Emily decided to try again to get close to Warrior. She prepared a little food, something she had saved from the previous night's dinner, and cautiously approached the door. With her heart racing, she slowly opened it, trying not to make any noise. Outside, Warrior lifted his head, his eyes fixed on her. For a moment, the world seemed to stop, and Emily felt that she was doing the right thing. She knelt down, holding out the food, and whispered, "It's okay, Warrior, I'm here." After a brief moment of hesitation, Warrior slowly approached. He sniffed the food and then looked into Emily's eyes, as if gauging her intentions. Emily stayed still, her hand extended, waiting for him to accept her gesture of friendship. When Warrior finally gave her hand a gentle lick, a smile spread across Emily's face. In that moment, a bridge was built between them, a silent bond promising that, no matter what happened, they would no longer face loneliness alone. Before we continue, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you love animals and their heartwarming stories. That sunny afternoon, while Emily's mother was working far from home, something magical happened in the backyard. Emily and Warrior, now secret friends, began to build a bridge of trust with one another. After their first encounter, where Warrior accepted Emily's food, each day brought a new meeting between them. Emily started spending more time outdoors, especially during hours when she knew she'd be alone. She would bring pieces of bread, cookies, and even bits of meat that she saved just for Warrior. The Pitbull, in turn, began to show signs that he looked forward to these moments as much as Emily did. He would appear every day at the same time, his tail slowly wagging when he saw her. One day, as she watched Warrior eat, Emily spoke to him as if he could understand every word. "You know, Warrior, sometimes I feel very lonely here. But when you're around, everything seems a little better." Warrior, calmly eating, would occasionally pause to look at Emily, as if trying to say that he felt the same way. Over time, Emily began noticing changes in the dog's behavior. Warrior no longer seemed so sad, his eyes shone brighter when he saw her, and he started to play small games, like gently tugging at the end of her sleeve or running in circles around her, making Emily laugh out loud. It was as if, somehow, they had both found a way to forget their sorrows and take joy in each other's company. Emily also started teaching Warrior some small tricks. With patience, she showed him simple commands like sit, stay, and come. To her surprise, Warrior was a quick learner. He seemed to enjoy these little challenges, and each success was celebrated with a lot of joy by both of them. These outdoor moments became Emily's safe haven, a place where she could be herself without worry or fear of judgment. For Warrior, Emily became a source of love and care that he may never have known. Together, they created a world of their own, a world where loneliness had no place. Each of Emily's laughs and each wag of Warrior's tail was proof that the friendship between them was real and deep. And so, without Emily's mother knowing, the girl and the stray dog built a friendship that would prove to be stronger than many could imagine. One night, as the sky darkened and stars began to twinkle above, Emily was home alone. Her mother had to work late, and the house felt quieter and emptier than ever. Emily was in her room, calmly drawing, when she heard strange noises coming from outside. Intrigued and a little scared, Emily went to the window to take a peek. That's when she saw two shadows moving stealthily through the yard. They were burglars. They were trying to enter the house through the kitchen window. At that moment of danger, as the threatening shadows of the burglars crept through the backyard, Emily felt the weight of the world fall on her shoulders. With wide eyes and trembling hands, she approached the window, cautiously watching the dark figures attempting to invade her home. Fear paralyzed her, and a feeling of vulnerability flooded over her. It was then, amidst the tense silence interrupted only by the whispers of the burglars and Warrior's distant growling, that Emily broke down in tears. Years of repressed emotions surged forth in an overwhelming torrent. She thought about what it would be like if her father were still there, a pillar of strength and security. She imagined him protecting their home and family, or at least helping her mother so she wouldn't have to work so late, allowing her to be home in this critical moment. The loneliness and sense of abandonment, which had been Emily's constant companions, now seemed to multiply. Each second waiting for the burglars to act felt like an endless hour. Her heart beat so loudly that Emily could swear it echoed through the walls of the house. Despite her young age, Emily was well aware of the dangers people could face. She often saw news stories about crime and violence, tales of cruel men who wouldn't hesitate to harm others. The reality of those stories was now knocking on her door, and the fear that she and her mother could become just another headline haunted her mind. It was a desperate moment, where the fragility of her existence became painfully clear. Yet, even through the tears and paralyzing fear, there was a thread of hope, the sound of Warrior's barking, a reminder that she wasn't completely alone. Emily clung to that sound, allowing it to fill her with enough courage to move and act, to protect her home and, above all, her own life. That dark night, Warrior was lying peacefully in the backyard when he heard Emily's cries for help. Instantly, his protective instincts kicked in. He rose quickly, the fur on his neck bristling, and a deep growl rumbled from his throat, signaling his readiness to defend. With surprising energy for his size, Warrior charged toward the house, focused on the suspicious figures trying to force their way in through the window. The burglars, intent on their plans, didn't notice the Pitbull's approach until he was nearly upon them. Seeing Warrior, a large, strong Pitbull baring his teeth and running towards them, filled the burglars with fear. Warrior barked and growled so loudly that his sound echoed like thunder, filling the air with his ferocity. One of the burglars tried to run, but, panicking, he slipped on the wet grass and fell, hitting the ground with a thud. The other was frozen in fear, unable to decide whether to flee or stay. Warrior then stopped at a safe distance, continuing to bark and growl, keeping them immobilized with fear. Without needing to touch them, his dominant presence and loud warnings were enough to keep them on the ground, trembling with fear until the police arrived. Seeing that Warrior had the situation under control, Emily ran to the phone and called the police. She quickly explained what was happening and returned to the window to keep an eye on the burglars while Warrior watched them closely. On that tense night, Warrior's bravery was put to the test in a way none of them could have foreseen. After intimidating the burglars with his imposing presence and deafening barks, the Pitbull stood firm, ensuring they didn't move until the police arrived. From her window, Emily watched it all, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and admiration for her loyal friend. As soon as the police arrived, the officers quickly handcuffed the still trembling burglars, impressed by the courage of a dog. One of the officers, while putting one of the men in the car, couldn't help but comment, "This dog isn't just a pet, he's a hero." The officer's words reinforced what Emily already knew about Warrior: he was special. After the burglars were taken away, Emily's mother arrived home. Terrified to learn what had happened, she rushed to hug Emily, relieved to find her safe. Emily, still in shock from the night, simply pointed to Warrior, who by then had returned to his spot in the backyard, still alert but visibly more relaxed. "Mom, it was Warrior who saved us," said Emily, her voice trembling but full of pride. Emily's mother looked at the Pitbull, her eyes filling with tears. In that moment, any lingering doubts or fears she had about Warrior vanished. She approached him, hesitant at first, but then knelt and extended her hand to pet him. Warrior, recognizing her change in demeanor, approached and gently rested his head under her hand. It was a simple gesture, yet filled with meaning. In the days that followed, the story of Warrior's heroic rescue spread through the village. Neighbors who once murmured about the danger of having a Pitbull around now stopped to pet Warrior whenever he walked with Emily. He had proven not only his courage but also his unwavering commitment to protect his family. Emily and her mother came to see Warrior not just as a pet, but as a true member of the family. Emily's afternoons were now spent playing ball with Warrior in the yard, teaching him new tricks, or simply sitting together, enjoying each other's company. On that special night, after the dinner where Emily's mother announced the official adoption of Warrior, the atmosphere at home was warmer and more hopeful than ever. Warrior, now an official part of the family, relaxed beside Emily, while she continued to smile, thinking about the new life her friend would have by her side. Later, after tidying up the kitchen and sitting next to Emily on the living room couch, her mother decided to address a matter that had long weighed on her heart. She knew that recent emotions and dangers might have stirred up old feelings in Emily, and she felt it was the right moment for an honest conversation. "Emily, I know that sometimes you feel very lonely," she began, choosing her words carefully. "And I know that your father's absence has left a big void in our lives." Emily looked at her mother, her eyes reflecting the complexity of her emotions. Her mother continued, holding her daughter's hand between hers. "I want you to know that I'm doing the best I can, sweetheart. And your father, he doesn't deserve your tears. We are both strong, and we can get through this together." Emily's mother took a deep breath, giving her words time to sink in. She knew these conversations were difficult, but necessary. "From now on, I'm going to try to spend more time with you. We can go to the park, visit new places, just the two of us, try to create special moments so you don't feel so alone." Emily felt her mother's words warm her heart. It was comforting to hear that she wasn't alone and that her mother recognized her inner struggles. "I'd love that, Mom," Emily replied, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "And having Warrior with us makes everything better." The two embraced, strengthening the bond that united them. Warrior's presence, now as an official family member, seemed to seal this new commitment between mother and daughter to face life's challenges together. And as they planned their upcoming outings, Emily felt, perhaps for the first time in a long while, that loneliness and the feeling of abandonment could truly be overcome, replaced by moments of joy and companionship. The decision to adopt Warrior was a milestone for Emily and her mother, transforming what was already a strong emotional bond into an officially recognized family connection. More than just a formality, the adoption was a true celebration of a relationship that had changed the dynamic of their lives. Warrior had arrived as a stranger, a simple stray in need of a home, but he quickly proved to be much more than that, a true hero and loyal companion. Warrior's presence in Emily's life brought a new energy to the home. Every moment of interaction between them reinforced how deep their bond was. Whether on walks around the neighborhood, where Warrior made a point to stay close to Emily, or during quiet afternoons in the yard, where he rested his head on her lap as she read a book, it was clear that their mutual love transcended the usual relationship between a girl and her dog. Warrior wasn't just a pet, he was a member of the family, a soul brother to Emily. Warrior's loyalty, shown on that tense night when he protected the house from the burglars, was a constant reminder of the value that heroes bring in times of crisis. He not only saved their home from material damage or possibly greater trauma, but he also strengthened the bond between mother and daughter, showing them that security and love can prevail even in the scariest of circumstances. This lesson was particularly meaningful for Emily's mother, who saw in Warrior the physical manifestation of hope and resilience. His courage in the face of danger rekindled a spark of optimism in her heart, reminding her that, no matter how challenging situations may seem, there is always a surprising and unexpected strength ready to help us overcome them. The adoption of Warrior was, therefore, more than an act of gratitude. It was an acknowledgement that true heroes come in all shapes and sizes and that, often, they are right beside us, ready to light up our darkest days. From the moment Warrior was officially adopted, Emily's and her mother's lives began to change significantly for the better. Together, they started to dedicate more time to each other, with Warrior always close by, strengthening their family bond. Afternoons spent in the park, Sunday mornings exploring nearby trails, and even simple evenings in the backyard became precious moments of connection and shared joy. Over time, the family's financial situation also began to improve. Emily's mother secured a better job, which allowed for more flexible hours and more time to spend with Emily. This financial relief brought a new wave of optimism and tranquility into their lives, enabling them to enjoy the small daily pleasures even more. All of this started on that day when Emily, noticing the pain and loneliness reflected in Warrior's eyes, decided to reach out in help. Her empathy and generous heart were the first steps toward a series of positive changes. By helping Warrior, Emily not only saved a loyal friend but also initiated a cycle of love and positivity that would reverberate through every aspect of her life. As the years passed, Emily grew into a remarkably special teenager. She developed a deep capacity for love and a unique sensitivity to the feelings of others. Her empathy, first shown in her relationship with Warrior, extended to all her interactions, making her someone others sought for comfort and understanding. Emily learned early on that kindness can transform lives, the life of a scared and lonely dog, her own life, and the lives of those around her. This life lesson shaped her into someone who deeply values family bonds and true friendships, always ready to offer support and affection. Emily became a living example that, through empathy and love, it's possible to overcome adversity and create a reality full of hope and happiness. Thank you for watching the video to the end. Remember to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your opinion about this story in the comments.